This intro never gets old. I wanted to start the video like this. Some of these characters. Welcome to the live premiere. We're gonna try to make this. I don't want to make it too long, but we should talk about some good things for this game. So, yeah. See, what if we get like a trailer like this? It might not be this month, because July is almost over. They actually end up dropping a trailer for Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 in September, if y'all can believe it. I forgot the actual date. But the one thing I want to say before we get started, this game was so much fun to play. I don't know what's in the cars. I don't know what they have planned. And that's what I'm talking about a little bit today. And I put together this new DLC pass for characters. Make sure the music is cut down. Do you guys think we're going to still get the game? Will we be seeing Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 this year? We don't know what to expect. It's so many things that they could be doing right. I think they could have did a lot more with this game. This game was fun, but I think the only thing that they did wrong was no updates, no patches, and then once the game came out, they just stopped communicating. And I think that was a bad, they just left it. Well, game came out, just nothing else for the game to get, and I thought the DLC could have been a little bit better, and that's what we're going to be talking about for the main focus for some of these characters. 5 characters that they could put together. What if we had this kind of a DLC? I think this would definitely increase sales for the game. Everybody would be playing this game, even just with one particular character that's in it that won't get into the game, but we just don't know what's in the cards yet. No one else is talking about this game because of the pattern, and Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 is still going on and on, but Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 is a completely different game behind a different developer team that's responsible for keeping the updates up to date and keeping us in the light of what's going on. It's Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 and All-Star Brawl are made by 2 different developers, and in this game, I think the biggest mistake was just not making it crossplay. And since Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 has the crossplay, maybe it's a good chance they could probably consider doing it for the next installment for a 4th game if we get one. And I'm not making these just to say that we're getting one. I feel like this is definitely the year to be one, to get one, because of the pattern, because the game's been out for a good long period of time, for 2 years, and based off the pattern, we end up getting a new title from the pattern itself, and we don't know what's gonna probably happen as far as the future. Maybe they're making a different game. Maybe it's a DreamWorks game. Maybe it's another Avatar game. Maybe it's a Nicktoons Unite game behind the scenes. Maybe it's something that could be a Nickelodeon Party Blast, because we haven't had something like that. It could be a party game, something like that of the mix. We don't know what the future holds for this title, but this game is done. This game is done. There's no more updates. There's nothing else coming out to the game. There's no more DLC. There's no updates, there's no patches. We haven't even had a patch and I don't know how long. Because when the game came out, that was the final patch. And the final update was when they separated the turbo pack for some of these characters, when they had the pack sold separately with Zuko and Eastman Raphael. This DLC is not ideal. We should not have these kind of characters for clone. We don't need clone characters, and that's something else I think they made a mistake with outside of just the online unlockables. These characters are clone characters with Eastman, Laird, Raphael, and Purple Reptar, who do not belong as a separate slot for the characters. As I already mentioned, at least the difference is I would rather have the Camp Coral characters. Some people are saying this, Camp Coral characters don't belong in the game. I wish they probably picked someone else, but at least when you think about it and take a look at the stat differences for the shows themselves, they have different voice lines and they have different, they differentiate from each other, because the 2 characters and the 4 characters alike from the past and the present for Patrick, the future selves or the past selves for Camp Coral, 2 different shows, and they have different voice lines and different stats. They sound different, they look different, and the stat differences is there. So they definitely belong in this game any day over those clone characters that we have at the bottom, like Eastman, Laird, Raphael, and Purple Reptar, that don't look any different except a different color. So that's why we're going to be talking about some of the DLC choices today in just a little bit. But what can we expect for actual DLC if we get any? Because considering the pattern for these first 2 games, and from Kart Racers 2 and 3, we didn't get any post-launch content like that. I think this game was the closest because they had Zuko. It wasn't just about Zuko and Eastman Lair Raphael. It contained slime parts. It contained part parts for the slime exhaust and the slime wheels that you get bundled into one price for $14.99, which was crazy, but I feel like it was worth it in a way because you got more with it. You got several characters all into one because you got crew members included Firelord Ozai, who was brand new, who didn't really exist in none of the Kart Racer series, and then I think I misclicked. And then we have Shredder, who was also included, but he got moved and he was part of the DLC, and he was part of he was behind the paywall with Firelord Ozai. But the crazy thing is, Shredder was our original character and our original roster, or a racer from Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2, but he became a crew engineer because it almost felt like a downgrade because Shredder is not even a chief, because the chief is the biggest or the top of the line for the crew members when you think about it, because it's the chief first that you pick, and then you pick the crew members between the crew engineer and the mechanic. It doesn't matter if they're an engineer or a mechanic, it's still going to be, you're still part of a crew member, but the chief has the best skills that's going to really be able to help you out in a way, and the crew members are just backup for you to get the bonus benefits when you're in the race. So it felt like a downgrade because Shredder didn't become a chief, because characters like April O'Neil or April from TMNT became a racer, and she was originally a chief from Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2. So I don't know if that's probably going to be something that they do. Maybe they'll flip flop them. They'll probably have April become a chief again, or a crew member, and then Shredder becomes a playable character all over again. But we don't need these character cuts and changes. They can build the roster from there. We don't need too many SpongeBob characters and TMNT characters stacking up, because when it comes to racing games, the slots ends up mattering. The slots matter because outside of the fighter or the platform fighting games, because it doesn't matter anymore. But in the racing game, the slots ends up mattering, because making a difference, because certain shows can end up taking up all the spots in some of the rooms, and some of those characters like Tommy, who should have been in the game, who deserved to be in the game, he doesn't exist at all in this game, but at least Angelica does when she got moved. Susie is definitely a great character, and I hope that she returns if they end up considering coming out with the game. We don't know what's going on. They haven't announced anything. This is just some ideas and things that they could possibly do to better this next product by taking these characters out, and they can just add costumes for these characters that we can be able to unlock from playing the game, not from just winning online to get the unlockables, where wins shouldn't be the reason why you get these characters unlocked and these unlockables from winning. You can just have the character play the game actively to get the unlockables that way, or certain conditions that doesn't require an online win, or several at that, hundreds of wins, like the bike, for example, because you need 128 wins to get this bike online, which was crazy. So I just think this roster was great for what it is, and she's definitely not coming back concerning things that's going on. She's great, a great character, definitely a great character to pick up, and one of the fastest from Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2, but she's definitely not coming back. I'm not sure what they're going to do for Squidina and some of these characters. What do you guys think? Definitely let me know in the chat for the live premiere, even during the comments, and see some of the characters that y'all would like to get changed. And if you have a different take on some of the characters that you don't like and you don't want to ever see make it into the game, for example, that's completely fine too. But what's some of the characters that y'all would like to see for a DLC, and maybe an ideal roster for base roster? They'll definitely probably end up adding the Beavers, Ember and Mr. Krabs and Plankton. I was thinking about from Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. I was gonna say Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2. They were both the same. They stayed the same even in this game. Mr. Krabs and Plankton, I think they'll be fun to see as playable racers with voice lines. That'll be fun. It'll be cool to see some of these crew members have voice lines too when you activate them. Maybe just the chiefs. If it's not too much of a hassle for them to all have their own unique voice lines, we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe that's just some additional ideas for this that they can do. But let's start getting into the DLC and start talking about the roster in general, and just some of these characters that just don't belong. We don't need these kind of characters. And I'm just shocked that they couldn't get 2 other additional shows to take these spots. And if you don't, it's just, it's not a necessity to even get Eastman Raphael, because he's the same character as Raphael. And then even if you don't get the DLC, you're just gonna miss out on Zuko. Zuko should not be DLC. He shouldn't have been DLC. He should be in the base roster from this game, which I thought he would. And even for characters like Shredder, he shouldn't be behind a paywall. And characters like that, they could have been, instead of being DLC, they could have had someone else become a DLC crew member. Firelord Ozai, I understand that could be fine too, but let's get some other characters and new shows that could have been DLC and crew members to make the DLC packs. And his turbo pack could have been better. They could have came out with these racer packs, which is why I made one for today. So let's start talking about some of these characters. Just gonna appear with SpongeBob himself. So the first character for this DLC, maybe some duos. They don't have any duo characters anymore, and I think the only duo that they have is Cat Dog, because they're supposed to be. There's no way they can separate Cat Dog anyway, because they're just stuck together forever, and there's no way out. They're the only duo characters, and when you think about duos, Ren and Stimpy, they're separate characters, and they were separate characters in the second game as well. So it'll be cool to see them have them be to share a cart. But I think maybe Daggett and Norbert, they might be separate characters, or maybe a dual racer. But characters like Rudy Tabuti and Rudy and Snap from Charzone, maybe they could be a duo character. But I would personally like to have them be separate. But it's just a duo. I wanted to put them together, and that's something different for this DLC pass. Most people are definitely going to be saying Rudy and Snap could be separate characters, which is completely fine. I would like it that way anyway, for them to both to be able to get in. But maybe one of them might end up getting in over the other, instead of them both making it. Rudy or Snap, which would you guys prefer? Some people will probably pick Snap, but Rudy is the chalk holder. He's got the chalk. I would definitely go either way with the characters, and then they can definitely add the chalks on for a new track to be included with them for paid DLC. None of these characters will be free, because it benefits the devs, and they can create more for future content, post-launch content. So the game has continuous characters, continuous updates for players to look forward to and be able to get excited for, besides these characters that we just didn't need, and characters like him that could have been base roster. The next character, I went with another show, Kitty Catchwell, and I also went in my Dudley Puppy. I almost put him in it just to try to mix it up. Just all new shows to get represented for a DLC, and not stacking up on Loud House characters, TMNT, Avatar, The Last Airbender, because you see we got 3 of them. And then Korra, she could count as an Avatar character in a way, but she's from her own show, Legend of Korra. And then some of the other characters are just crew members that got into the game. Kitty Catchwell I selected. Why not have this kind of show? You definitely gonna definitely get some sales. They can do something different with these characters, and shows like Tub Puppy is a most requested show alongside of Chart Zone and more. An underrated show like Ginger, like As Told by Ginger, I selected Ginger Froutley. I don't see many people talk about Ginger and mention her as a favorite Nicktoon, because people talk about Fairly Odd Parents and so much other shows, from Tub Puppy, Harvey Beats. It goes on and on. There's so many choices that they can pick, but I picked Ginger Froutley as something different. Another underrated show. Is so many other shows they can add. Mighty B, Rocket Power, Kablam. I don't even know if they would go as far as adding them. Henry and June from Kablam. That could be an option. That's something that they could definitely do. But it would be nice to see some of these characters get some representation. Cindy Vortex didn't really get in. See how they add Jimmy and Cindy? They didn't make it into the second game. They weren't playable. See how they did something like that? They can do Dudley and Kitty Cats. Well, something like they did with this. 2 reps for the show that can get in. 2 ideal reps that fans would love to see. And they did end up going above and beyond, adding more Jimmy Neutron characters in this. Hugh Neutron didn't make the cut. He got in, but he's a crew member. He's not playable. Only 2 characters, 2 playable racers from Jimmy Neutron from his show got into this game. And then for a 4th set of characters, let's say some more things too. Rock, paper, scissors as a Nickelodeon choice of preference based on the success of the show and the great ratings. It's a good show. And I got to know the show because I made a moveset for them. Rock, paper, scissors is doing so well. A lot of people are watching that show and they're interested and they're enjoying the show for what it is. You know how Nickelodeon likes to get so many influence behind some of these characters. It'll definitely benefit the show, and it'll benefit the game, and people actually love these characters as a trio. Rock, paper, scissors can be 3 additional characters that they can add separately. See how they did Zeminger? And then see how Hey Arnold has 3 reps? Why not rock, paper, scissors to be separate? Or maybe they'll all share their cart. But this trio can definitely be a lot of fun to play if they're all on the same cart. But they can separate them as additional characters and make their stats differently, just like they did with these characters. SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy. Sandy's the fastest. Patrick has the best handles and bigger weight. And then SpongeBob has a little bit of speed, some good handles, and he also has superior turbo. See the stat differences that they can toy around with some of these stats? They can do things like this for this trio for rock, paper, scissors, and it'll definitely boost the ratings, and it'll help the show grow. Even if people haven't seen some of these characters and haven't heard of some of these shows, people have they grew up in different eras and they didn't see some of these characters. It's people out there that haven't seen Hey Arnold, the Rugrats, because they started watching shows, some of these shows, when The Last Airbender started. They weren't around during this time, or they just didn't check out some of these shows. Maybe they were around, but they didn't know about Real Monsters with Ablina and Ickis and Chrome and Autumn, Rocko's Modern Life. They grew up around the time and came out with these shows and interested in these shows when Avatar came out and existed for the Last Airbender. So they have different shows that they can include, like these newest Nicktoons that can definitely be beneficial, and I think Nickelodeon would definitely like this. And then the final character that's a reach. I wanted to let's make the impossible possible. With fan demand, they can make negotiations to get this character in. Let's get Timmy Turner in this game. He made an incident in this game, and guess what? They got permission. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying none of these characters are going to be easy to get, especially when you look at all these characters in this past for today. Timmy Turner is the toughest character to get. Everybody else is definitely more than likely and has a possible chance. But Timmy Turner himself, let's get some communication and try to get some things settled for this character to get into these games for these crossovers. He hasn't been in the game in so long. With everybody, they all focused on TMNT, SpongeBob, and Avatar. It's not about just these shows, because people have been waiting for this character for the longest. And I don't know how long. I haven't played those other games. Those Fairly Odd Parents games with Timmy Turner that was in it. I think it was like a shadow clone, not a shadow clone, but some kind of shadow phantom shadow. It was like a PS2 game. I haven't played none of those games, but it's been so long. We in the PS5 era for modern gaming, for the next generation of gaming, and then some more coming out in 2025. Timmy Turner hasn't even been in none of these games for crossovers, and it's just been that long. Since old gen, it's been years since he's been in. So we got to get some of these characters into the game. What do you guys think of this pass? What's some of the changes that you guys would make? And just start talking about some of the things that they have. Some of these things that you can allot, and just they can do some different ideas. We got bites in the game, which is nice. How about some planes? Some planes can get into the game. Let's start just talking about some extra things that they can do. What do you guys think of planes? Anybody play Denny Kart Racing from the Nintendo 64? Let's get some planes added into this game. They can do something like that. Some boats. They did anti-gravity in a way. When you take the wheels off, let's go up here. See what they did? Because they have hover cars. The hoverboard. You just go over to a bike. Let's put Danny Fountain or something like that. Come over to a bike, Johnny 13. Let's put this on. You got hoverboards and hover bikes in this game. Or hoverboards, and you can just be able to see how they did something like this. They can do planes. What do you guys think about planes getting into this game? And then they turn into a little bit of boats for the water. That was in the game. Some of these modes can be beefed up. We need some more bosses in this game. 6 bosses cannot be the end all be all. And I'm just saying some things to expand this a little bit. Oops, I almost clicked on the wrong thing. It was in the challenges. The challenges can have more DLC, and then let's say if they didn't want to make it behind a paywall, or they can still make these characters behind a paywall, they deserve to be behind a paywall. Well, all these amazing characters, all 5 of them. Let's see, you buy the DLC, and then you challenge them into a race, you defeat them, just what they say. Beat the boss and get a new character. You can unlock the set of challenges for DLC challenges, and you can be able to take on Rudy and Snap and face off against them, because in some of these characters, even from the second game I'm thinking about, you would go against Ren and Stimpy, and then when you faced off against Reptar, who was a boss, you would also be able to face Tommy and Chucky in the same race, and you can defeat them and they will attack you. DLC challenges with these bosses, you pay for the character, and if you don't like a certain character, you buy the character individually. You won't even have to buy the pass. They'll be able to let you buy the character individually, buy the character, and unlock new DLC challenges, so you can be able to earn your way to take on that new racer. And then the next set, new challenges for Kitty Catswell, and then race against her on Petropolis, which is the hometown, or the main setting for the show. Petropolis, you can unlock the stage that way. You can unlock the character, and so much more rewards and different costumes can get inside and be included with the characters when you play against them. And when you unlock them, of course, you can start playing as the character to unlock the skin and come out with unlock conditions outside of the online and get to the next character, Ginger, Rock, Paper, Scissors, and Timmy Turner. 5 different characters, and if they want to go as far as doing 6 characters or more, or 4, that could be more realistic. 4 characters for 4 DLC bosses. You can pay for the character, you won't unlock them right away, but you'll be able to play and earn new challenges, and then some of these characters can be included from their shows if they can get the license and the actual rights and the permission to get some of these characters. Mr. Crocker can be a chief. See, they got Bobo right here. Mr. Crocker can be a chief. They got Karen up in here for SpongeBob. She's a crew member still to this day. They can add some of these other characters from these shows that can get into the game as well. Snaptrap can be a chief, for example, from Tough Puppy. Imagine that. It's deserving to be a character racer, and of characters that people can play some of these characters and unlock them. It's definitely going to be helpful for them to be able to unlock some of these characters, and it'll help the game grow. They have a lot of options. So I'm really hoping that they be able to add more of these characters into the game, and some of these characters can be able to get the players excited. Let's stop with the online unlockables. That's something that was I think that was just overboard. No online unlockables. Everything can no online unlockables. Everything could just be accessible for some of these characters, so players could be able to earn some of the rewards. Let's stop with the online unlockables. Let's stop with the online wins. That's just too much. We got to get hundreds of wins where you have to win. That's just too much on a player. And then when they start playing the game, they're not going to be able to unlock these characters, because some of these players are not going to let you win for free. So hopefully they'll be able to make some of these changes for this game if it is coming out this year and no delays. They got all the options in the world to be able to expand the player base, and people don't move on so quickly. Well, they don't want to play the game anymore. You got all the options in the world when you have a good variety. Let's get some new shows in these games. So let's get some communication, because when you go ghost like they did with the Twitter page, that's not a good idea. That's not good for the marketing, and it's not gonna have the player keep on waiting and waiting and waiting around thinking people want to play this game. They're gonna wait. They're gonna want communication. So even if it takes a little bit longer for some of these updates and patches to come out, that's fine. But at least you communicate it properly. It has to be communicated. Some of the stuff that they did for this game currently, it's not gonna fly, and people move on. That's why they dropped the game so quickly. And then on top of that, with the icing on the cake, as they say, the online unlockables puts the pressure on the player. That's not the way. So hopefully they'll be able to make these changes in the coming future for the next product, so it's good marketing, so players can start getting excited for some of these characters.